Welcome to Caffeinated Flicks. I'm Celeste.
And I'm Kenzie. We're two chicks who drink coffee
and celebrate flicks from diverse directors.
If you like what you're hearing so far, take a moment to follow us in your favorite podcasting app.
And give us a rating or review. Here's the show.
Why are you salty?
I just spent an hour getting ready to take a photo for this submission, and my hair did not want to cooperate today.
Oh, I'm
working.
sorry.
I know. So I was like, I'll just use an old photo. And, yep. So, of course, as soon as we start recording, the dogs
That's okay.
decide to make a cameo. And then I just got another email saying that for another submission I did last week. They're like, oh, we chose to go with someone else.
Aw, I'm sorry. That's
know.
a bummer.
That's my life.
So what was the audition type thing today?
It wasn't an audition. It was just a submission for a commercial. It was like some kind of sports bar. I don't know. I don't have any photos that look like I belong in a sports bar, which is why I was like, oh, I need to get ready and take some photos today. And then my hair was just like, fuck you. The fuck you are.
Aww.
So I was like, I can't work with this. I know. Yeah. So
that's a bummer.
Yeah. It is.
Well, hopefully you still get called.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
I'm going to put it out there in the world that you're going to get called.
Every submission I do, I'm like, I'm going to forget about it. Unless I get like a rejection email, then I'm like,
right. Well,
but normally you don't hear back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At some point in time, you will get an acceptance email, or at least a move on to the next stage email.
That's the goal.
Aw.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm a giant nerd, and I'm going back to Oregon tomorrow.
So exciting.
Yeah. Let's see.
That was me. I muted it on purpose.
I figured as much.
Because I was going to yell at my dogs to shut up.
Oh my gosh. That is hilarious. But yeah, so I'm a super nerd, and I'm so excited because I'm going back to Oregon tomorrow because shout out my friend Bethany is getting married on Saturday. And so by the time that we drop this episode, she will be married and they will be on their honeymoon, and I will be in Oregon to help dog sit for them. And so I'm stupid excited.
That's so exciting. But why does that make you nerdy? That you're excited to go to Oregon.
Because I started packing on like Sunday. Like,
oh, yeah.
I packed my giant suitcase because I was folding laundry. I did laundry on Sunday. And so I was like, well, there's no point in like putting it away just for me to take it out again. So I just folded my laundry and then stuck it into the suitcase. And then about an hour ago, because we pushed off recording just a little bit, I was like, I'm going to repack my suitcase.
That's funny.
So I did some minimizing, did some maximizing of the space. So yeah, I'm a giant nerd who loves to pack. Not sure why. I just always have been.
That's exciting.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll be leaving tomorrow and I'm super excited.
So excited for you. Yay.
Anything else going on with you this week?
No.
No.
I took yesterday off. I was going to do just like a half day. I was like, oh, just because I wanted to. And I was like, I don't want to go in. And so then I was like, I'm just going to take it off. But it was really nice. All of those like random like to-dos that I always put off. Right. I did them all yesterday. So I was like, oh, you know, those like tedious things that take like 10, 15 minutes max, but you put them off all the time. Yep. So I got to those. It was a very productive day.
That's nice. That is my favorite thing about having a day off during the week.
Yes.
Is like you can get so much shit done that you can't during a weekend because everybody has that day off doing the same thing. And I'm just like, nope, I don't want to deal with people. I don't want to have to deal with traffic. I don't want to have to deal with getting in my car.
Exactly.
But if it's a day that not everybody has off, I'm like, sign me up.
I know. They're the best. So
they truly are.
That's pretty much it to report.
So did you have any good coffee today?
I did get Starbucks today because I have one of those star challenges that they give you. So I have one of those. Like if I go 3 times this week, then I'll get 100 stars. So I'm like, oh, that's a free coffee.
That's how they get you.
Exactly. But yeah, so I got a decaf iced americano, of course, with a couple pumps of white mocha. What did you get today?
Very on brand. Earlier today, I had cold brew, which I love my cold brew. But then I decided that for today's episode, I wanted to bring up this dark chocolate with espresso beans that I got. It's a chocolate bar that I got when I was in Alaska. And they say, like, it says, we use espresso beans roasted in Alaska for our chocolate bar. And then the back is really funny because it says, people ask us what makes our chocolate so damn good. The answer is, we do. And they're like, that may sound arrogant, but really, we're just proud. And then there's a little, like, stamp of approval that says, yes, it's actually handmade in Alaska. So it's a very proud Alaskan chocolate bar with some Alaskan espresso. And I love it very much. So it's very tasty.
Awesome. Wait, so the beans are actually from Alaska?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know that was possible. With like,
at least they're roasted there. On there.
Yeah.
Slightly different. So it's actually made in Anchorage.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
So should we get to our movie today?
Yes, please.
Awesome. So it is the third Tuesday in October, I believe. So yeah, we've done Scary Movie, which is a parody of scary movies. And then we did our monster scary movie last week. And now this week we have our ghost scary movie with M. Night Shyamalan's infamous The Sixth Sense. Any history with the movie prior to you and me watching it together?
Oh my goodness. It's like I don't have any memories of any movies from when I was younger. I remember how I was terrified of this movie. Specifically the scene. Yes, I thought it was so scary. Specifically the scene where with the balloon at the friend's house where he's like trapped in the closet. Mm-hmm. That movie, that scene.
I couldn't figure out why you wanted to watch it together. I was like, it's not that scary, but to each their own. I will not scare shame somebody.
I think you said you fell asleep, right?
I did.
Yeah. I thought I heard you snoring.
No.
I thought I did, but it could have been in my head. But I was like, you know what? I'm not going to judge because I'm falling asleep over here too. So.
Oh no, that does not bode well for our scale at the end.
I know.
I think it's just because I've seen this movie so many times and we were very tired that day. That was you had just gotten out drinking and.
Oh yeah, we both had a long
sleep
night.
Well, yeah, we did. Yeah, so I'm blaming it on that. I'm not blaming it on the movie. But did you ever watch 50 First Dates?
Yes.
Okay. So the first time that I ever interacted with The Sixth Sense was after watching 50 First Dates, because in the beginning of 50 First Dates, they watched The Sixth Sense. And she's like, after they finish watching it, she's like, I can't believe it. Bruce Willis is a ghost.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
So up to that point, I had never actually watched The Sixth Sense. So then I watched The Sixth Sense after that.
So then it spoiled it for you then?
Yes and no. I don't know. I'm one of those weird people who doesn't mind having things spoiled for me. Like when people are like, oh, I just saw this movie and it was so great. And I'm like, well, tell me about it. And they're like, no, I don't want to spoil anything. I was like, I really would love it if you would spoil things for me. Like, it does not bother me.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you don't have like that same shock factor at the end. Because that was shocking to find out that he too was a ghost. But you already went in like, because Drew Barrymore blew it for you.
I didn't know like at what point in time he became a ghost. I didn't know anything else. I don't know when we found out. Like, it could have been so many other things.
I guess.
Either way, I still liked it. Like, and they show in 50 First Dates the beginning sequence when Vincent Gray shoots him. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know that was at the very beginning. So it could have been at the very end for all I knew.
True. Way to stay positive. Way to be half glass full. Right.
Either way, I still enjoy it. But yeah, so shall we get into our director?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So As we have stated on this podcast many a time, Celeste and I are M. Night apologists, and we are not sorry about that. And so today's movie, The Sixth Sense, was directed by M. Night Shyamalan, and we have provided some of his history before, so some of this may be repeated or repetitive from last time, but other than that, for those who are just tuning in for the first time, I'm going to spoil M. Night's bio for you. He was born on August 6th, 1970, and so he's a Leo, much like my youngest brother and my dad, and he was actually born in Pondicherry, India. I apologize for anybody who is listening from India and is like, that is not how you pronounce it. Have no idea. And the same with M. Night's birth name. His name is Manoj Nelliyattu Shyamalan. And so he shortened it down to M and then changed his middle name to Night during college. And both of his parents are doctors. He actually has like 9 family relatives that are all within the medical field, I believe, including some siblings of his parents, like aunts and uncles, so on and so forth. So they're all doctors of some sort. He graduated from NYU, and he gained international recognition when he wrote and directed today's movie, The Sixth Sense. And it was a major commercial success, and he was later nominated for The movie was later nominated for 6 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Original Screenplay. M. Night became the highest paid screenwriter in Hollywood when Disney gave him $5 million to write Signs.
Does that make it a Disney movie?
It's like Disney intellectual property, like Disney IP. So I was like, that is new.
That's interesting.
Didn't know that when we covered Signs, know?
Nope.
So... His inspiration for The Sixth Sense was based on an episode from The Tale of the Dream Girl from 1994, directed by David Winning. And then some trademarks of M. Night Shyamalan include he frequently uses shots of people's reflections in various objects. Many of his films involve 2 ordinary individuals with extraordinary abilities or events happening to them. One of the people either has connections to a child or is a child, and the one connected to the child is always having marital difficulties. Films often use an event from the main character's past as a major connection to what is happening in the present. Car crashes play pivotal roles in all of his movies. Many of his films have an important scene based in a basement. And then often he works with particular actors twice in consecutive movies. So, oh gosh.
What was that?
That was my phone.
Oh, okay. I'm like, oh my gosh. Is that something paranormal?
And then, so in the case of this movie, we've got Bruce Willis as one of the main cast members. And then the next year, he also worked with Bruce Willis in Unbreakable. So he does this very often. For instance, he worked with Bryce Dallas Howard in The Village, and then once again in Lady in the Water. He worked with Joaquin Phoenix with Signs, and then also in The Village. He's worked with several people in consecutive movies. So those are just some examples. The other main trademark of his is that he likes to mirror Hitchcock, and he likes to do small cameos in his movies. As I alluded to earlier, we have a star-studded cast for this. So we have Haley Joel Osment, who plays Cole Sear, who is our main protagonist. We have Bruce Willis as Dr. Malcolm Crowe, Toni Collette, who I absolutely adore, as Lynn Sear, Donnie Wahlberg, and yes, he is Mark Wahlberg's brother, as Vincent Gray. Misha Barton as Kira Collins, who is the sick girl. Olivia Williams as Anna Crowe. Trevor Morgan, who is, as you and I recognized when we were watching this together, is Eric from Jurassic Park 3. And several others, but those are our main cast members. Some fun facts about our cast members. So Haley Joel Osment is the older brother of Emily Osment. She was one of the main characters on Hannah Montana. And she also
was the best friend?
Mm-hmm, she was the best friend.
Goodness. Wow.
So they are an acting family, much like the Breslins, Abigail Breslin and then Spencer Breslin. They are an acting troupe of a family.
Wowza. Craziness. I used to love Hannah Montana. Did you?
I avoided it like the plague. I was like, no, thank you.
Were you too cool for Hannah Montana, Kenzie?
I was very too cool, or at least I tried to be. And then Emily Osment, though, she still acts to this day. She still continues to be in different TV shows. And one of my favorite TV shows of hers that I watched was called Young and Hungry, where she plays a personal chef.
I was going to say that one. I loved that show. I don't think they made another one. There was a season 1 and 2, right?
No, they finished the series.
Oh, they finished it? Oh, it was really short.
Well, we should watch this together sometime. It'll be like our next Gilmore Girls.
Yeah, I love that show.
I think they have 4 seasons, but...
Was it?
Hold, please. 5 seasons. They have 5 seasons.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so you missed out on a lot.
Apparently.
We're going to have to watch
this. I watched it, I just didn't remember. But...
So another fun fact, Haley Joel Osment, as a young child, his first film role was in Forrest Gump, where he actually played the son of Forrest Gump.
Oh my goodness. I can't remember the last time I watched Forrest Gump, though, to be fair.
I watched it one time, and I was like, this is the most depressing movie I've ever watched.
It was a very depressing movie, yeah.
I was like, what is happening with Jenny? This girl needs some serious help.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm like, I don't know if I'm really into this anymore.
Yeah. Definitely not a feel-good movie that you want to come back to.
You know what's weird is everybody always says that it is a feel-good movie. Like everybody acts like it's just this phenomenal, like happy movie. And I'm watching it, I'm like, this is the most depressing shit.
Yeah.
Well, should we get into the ratings?
Yes, let's do it.
Perfect.
Alrighty, so 10 out of 10, brilliant. The Sixth Sense is a brilliant film, plain and simple. It is unique in that it relies on imagination and psychology to scare you and make you think twice about the world around you. The director did a fabulous job constructing the imagery of the film, and I genuinely did not know about the ending until it was revealed. Quite a shock. The Sixth Sense goes in my book as the single greatest psychological horror film I have ever seen. Anyone who bashes it are simply not giving it a chance or don't fully realize the complex dialogue and imagery around them. Brilliant.
I have to note, so the commenter, their screen name is Indiana Jones. And then for the 1 out of 10, this is not an in-depth review, just a quick opinion, was left by Fembot 911. Sorry, I thought they were too funny and perfect because they were also other film references. So I wanted to include them. So the 1 out of 10, this is the most overrated movie of 1999. I am continuously shocked at all of the praise it continues to receive. It was a dismal portrait of meaningless lives topped off with the cheapest gimmick Hollywood continues to overuse. There was nothing original about it, and I just don't understand all the fuss.
So when you said, this is not an in-depth review, it's just a quick opinion, I thought that was just you saying that. I didn't realize that was the title of the actual review.
No.
And when I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's actually what they titled it. Oh, goodness.
Oh, that's perfect. That is peachy keen.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Oh, time for the movie?
Let's do it.
All right. So once again, we're covering The Sixth Sense, and we open on a woman going down into a wine cellar with tens of dusty wine bottles. Like, I know that technically you can keep wine for a long time, but especially if it's corked, there's still air getting in there and it still causes the flavor to change, and wine can go bad. So it always shocks me when people have like tens to hundreds of wine bottles in a cold, dark wine cellar.
Yeah, but how long does it take for them to go bad? Because they're always saying, aging like fine wine. So I would imagine it gets better over time. But at one point, does it stop getting better?
It depends on the style of wine, actually. But yeah, either way, it still can go bad. It may take like 10 years. Like Richard just recently became a giant fan of Syrahs and have a shelf life of 10 years from when they are bottled. but after 10 years, then they turn, you know? So it happens. All I know is check the dates on your wine and check the style of wine and how long it takes for them to go bad.
Oh my gosh. I need to do that. Because I assumed, it's just getting better over time, but
no. No. So anyway, this woman is downstairs picking out a bottle of wine and she hears some cracking and she suddenly gets extremely cold and then rushes upstairs. In her living room, she meets up with her husband, who is Dr. Malcolm Crowe, played by Bruce Willis. And he's going on about this award that he just received. And he says, how expensive do you think the frame is? And he has just received this award from the mayor of Philadelphia. She tells him that he sounds like Dr. Seuss when he's drunk. And then she reads the award to him, which recognizes him for outstanding achievement in child psychology. He then quips that they should hang it in the bathroom. And she looks at him very sternly and tells him that this is incredibly important. It's incredibly important because it's a recognition of his hard work and putting everything second, including her. And he says, thank you. And they begin to get frisky. So they head upstairs. And I cannot tell you how awkward it is that they're taking off their top layers of clothing. So like they're both trying to be sexy and silly at the same time with like their over jacket and his, what's it called? Vest.
Vest. Oh, okay.
Vest. Yeah, his vest. Sorry, the cat distracted me. The cat distracted me. All of a sudden I was thinking, and then the cat like did some zoomies and then I was like, what? And then I remembered I was remembering what the word was. So anyway, his wife is getting closer to the bed on her side of the bed, I think. And she is next to the window and suddenly realizes that the window is shattered and that the phone is off the hook. They hear somebody go past in the bathroom, and we see an emaciated man who has taken off all of his clothes with the exception of his underwear, and he appears to be extremely agitated. Dr. Malcolm tells him that there are no needles or drugs here, and having been a psychologist says, this is such and such address. Do you know that you're not at your house? This is my house. Trying to talk him down.
He was addressing the situation very calmly. So,
very calmly.
Like, had that been a normal person, we would be freaking the F out probably. Like,
probably. That's why people have guns.
Oh,
so I'm like, I can't even imagine had they had a gun and they lived in a time where people use those often.
Oh, God, right.
But to be fair, we will get to that actually soon. So
Yes.
the man, Malcolm and Anna, who is his wife, do you know why you're afraid when you're alone? And Anna asks him what he wants, and the man responds, I want what he promised me. He gets very agitated. And he tries to remind Malcolm who he is. And so he starts listing off the various attributes of his psychology visits to Dr. Malcolm when he was a kid, possible mood disorder, single parent home, struggling with his parents' divorce. And Malcolm tries to guess who this individual could be. It takes him 3 times before he finally lands on Vincent Gray. And then I don't think that this is very convincing, but he's like, no, I do remember you. It's like,
right.
It took you 3 times. And so then Vincent screams that Malcolm failed him. Vincent turns around and grabs a gun very quickly. Like there was no second guessing this. He literally turned around to the sink, grabbed the gun, turned back around and shot Malcolm in the gut immediately. There was no 2 ifs, ands, or buts about it. And then as Anna screams and runs to Malcolm, Vincent Gray shoots himself in the head, unaliving himself. So we fade out and we cut to text on screen. The next fall.
Well, I'm wondering, their home, didn't they go up some stairs?
Mm-hmm.
He had to have climbed to the second floor.
At least. It could have been the third floor. Who knows?
It could have been, yeah. And
we don't know
broken into that
is.
window. That seemed like a lot of work.
I'm sure there was probably a tree next to it.
Maybe.
You have to remember, we live in a land without trees. It is much harder to climb up to a second-story window.
Yeah, that's true.
Everywhere else actually has trees.
But also, this is a grown adult climbing a big-ass tree just with a gun.
A very troubled adult, mind you. He is very determined to get there. I'm sure he went there with a plan. He figured out, you know what? This man is being honored tonight and he doesn't deserve it. He's failed me. I have to go and make this happen. So don't doubt people's determination.
Yeah, no frisky time for you.
What they can accomplish. Oh, could you imagine? That would be, I would be mortified. I'd be like, yes, please kill me now because you were apparently here the entire time. So anyway, the next fall, Malcolm is sitting outside in a neighborhood and he's reading over some notes when he sees this little boy, who we find out is Cole, come out of his house. He's looking at his notes and it has Cole's name, the fact that he's 9 years old, and he scans the rest of his notes and we see different words and attributes circled that are a lot like Vincent Gray's attributes. So he looks up and the boy speed walks down the street and Malcolm follows him. Then the boy begins to pick up to a run and finds the church around the corner to run into. Malcolm then joins Cole in a pew where Cole is playing with a few action buddies and he's speaking a phrase in Latin. It's the same phrase over and over again. Malcolm walks up slowly and tells him, "Sorry, we were supposed to meet today, but I missed our appointment, and I'm sorry for that." He then explains to Cole that people used to hide in churches, and Cole says, "Why?" And Malcolm says, "Because people were trying to hurt them." So then Cole, who has glasses on, but there's only the rims, explains that the glasses were his dad. He took out the glass portions?
The lenses.
The lenses. That's, I was like, wait a second, that doesn't make any sense. He took out the lenses because they hurt his eyes.
Been there. Do you ever try to put on other people's glasses?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Billy's on before? Oh, my God. Poor guy is so blind. It hurts so bad.
Oh, no. I used to do that a lot with my dad. So growing up, my dad always had glasses. And so I used to put on his glasses and he's like, "Don't do that. You're going to ruin your eyes."
Right.
Here I am, almost 30, still have 20/20 or better vision. But we'll see. It'll go down at some point, I'm sure. I'm the only person in my family who doesn't wear glasses, even for like a small amount of time. Like I only wear blue light glasses because if I don't, then it'll give me a migraine.
Yeah. I used to be the only person, but now I definitely probably have astigmatism because at night
I
can't see for shit. It's so scary. It's a gamble when Billy and I go out at night. We're like, okay.
Oh, no.
Jesus, take the wheel because who knows?
You're like, we're only going 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
And if we need to, we're going to walk. It's fine.
Yep.
So Malcolm asks him, "Do all of your soldiers speak Latin?" And Cole responds, "Nope, just one." And then Cole asks Malcolm if he's a good doctor, to which Malcolm responds, "I used to be. I even won an award from the city once." And then we see that Cole gets up to leave and says to Malcolm before he leaves, "I'm going to see you again, right?" To which Malcolm says, "If you let me." And he pivots, heads out of the church, but not before stealing a Jesus figurine on his way out.
Little butterfingers over here.
I told you, it's for protection, as we will discover later. So later on that night, Malcolm returns home and he sees that his wife has eaten alone and is in bed. She has tissues all around her, so we can guess that she might have cried herself to sleep. And he goes downstairs and there's a door to their cellar, which is the wine cellar. And apparently this is his office because this is where we will find him all the time. But he can't seem to open up the door, so he's looking in his pockets for the key. Suddenly, we're downstairs in the basement, and he's starting to research the Latin phrase that Cole had spoken to him. While he's translating this, he finds out that the phrase De profundis clamo a de Domine translates to out of the depths, I cry to you, O Lord. These are the first few words of Psalm 130 in the Book of Psalms. For all those religious people out there, or those who have actually read the Bible. I am not one of those, and Richard and I talk about how I'm a heathen all the time. So,
because you've never read the Bible?
No, I've never read the Bible. I've never partaken really in church. So
I don't think that's how it works. To make you a heathen.
It's fun.
Technically, people who read the Bible can still be heathens. So it doesn't make you a better person at all.
I'm very curious about the Bible sometimes. It comes and goes, mostly on long road trips when I'm trying to have a conversation. But other than that, I find it very fascinating, but not in a religious text way, in an outside looking in sort of way. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense.
Oh, okay. Good. Yeah. I'm so glad. So we then transition to Cole's apartment where his mom, Toni Collette, is getting ready for the day. And we see the absolute cutest puppy.
Cutest puppy. What is it? Like a...
He's a Siberian Husky.
Yep, Husky. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember what its name is, but it is the cutest puppy ever.
I was thinking, so clearly these people, don't have a ton of money because their apartment's really tiny. Those dogs aren't cheap.
So it depends.
I'm wondering, how did they get this puppy?
It could have been gifted to them. Who knows? We got our Siberian Husky at the pound when we had one. And that wasn't even the first one that we had. I don't even know how my mom got the other Siberian Huskies that we had at one point in time.
Oh my. Because puppies in general, even at the pounds, are very pricey.
Are they?
But,
in 1999?
Oh, that's true. Never mind. Maybe inflation hit that too.
I wouldn't doubt it. So, when she walks into the kitchen, some of the cabinet doors are open, and Toni Collette asks Cole to come into the kitchen to eat the rest of his Cocoa Puffs before they get soggy. Then she sees that there's a spot on his tie, takes it off, and quickly runs to the laundry area that they have and grabs another one. And she's literally gone for maybe 10 seconds. And when she returns, all of the cabinets and drawers are open. And she is shocked, obviously. And she does.
I completely forgot about that scene, so it made me jump.
Oh, no?
Also, it brought me back to all the Paranormal Activity movies.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that happens multiple times in those. So I was like,
I do love the Paranormal Activity movies. I just like ghosty things. I love to watch ghost TV and stuff where they do paranormal investigations and stuff like that.
Those are the ones that stick with me the longest, where I have to sleep with the lights on. Gory, monster movies are fine for the most part. Maybe one night I might be up all night. But the other ones, man, those stick with you.
Oh my gosh. Gory ones stick with me forever.
I'm like, what is life? Does that all exist? What's happening?
Depends. We'll see. Anyway, so she shrieks, and Cole has not moved at all from the table. But she still thinks that it's him. And she asks him, what were you looking for? And he says very quickly, Pop-Tarts. And she's like, they're right here. And so this is a running theme through the movie where he asks, what are you thinking? Are you thinking anything bad about me? And she comes up close to him and she says, look at me. Look at this face. I would never think anything bad about you. And so the doorbell rings and Cole runs downstairs to quote unquote walk to school with his classmate Tommy, who is Eric from Jurassic Park 3. That is all I need to know about him. But he's a snot in this movie. So
he's such a brat. Also, right before Cole runs downstairs, she sees a giant handprint on the table.
Yes.
That's clearly not his. So a little indicator to her, maybe.
I never picked up on that. I thought it was just like because it was so cold in there and that he was sweating, he left a handprint. But
oh, maybe I took it as like it was a man's handprint.
I say yes and.
Oh my. Okay, that could have been it too. because throughout the movie, also like she's pointing out how cold it is all the time.
Yes.
So it could have been that too.
Yeah.
Who knows?
We will see. So after he walks downstairs with Tommy, they get down to the corner and they're finally out of sight. And Tommy, being the little snot that he is, thinks that he's a fantastic actor and says, "Wasn't that great? Did you like that over the shoulder bit?" And then they take off and walk their separate ways.
Because he was in that one commercial.
Which we will get to as well. Yep. It comes up a couple of times.
Several times.
So later on that evening, Malcolm and Lynn are sitting in Cole's living room and they're waiting for Cole to get home from school. Once Cole comes through the door, Lynn goes over to Cole and she tells Cole that he can tell her things if he needs to. And then they start to go on about the aspirational things that they could have done that day. So she tells him, "Oh, I won the lottery. I quit all of my jobs. And then I had a picnic in the park." And then Cole responds, "Well, I got picked first for kickball. I won the game and everyone picked me up to celebrate." And then she says, "All right, this calls for triangle pancakes." I ask you yet again, what in the world are triangle pancakes?
I have no idea. I don't know how you actually make a triangle pancake. I would imagine you have to have one of those like cookie cutters down to get the sharp edges. Also, who and why, but maybe his favorite shape is a triangle. I don't know.
I could not tell you. All I know is that she said triangle pancakes. It did make me wonder if they were like potato pancakes. Like, can you make potato as triangles? Like latkes?
Oh. It just seems very odd and random. Who knows?
I know. Who knows? Who knows? The world may never know. Nope. So Malcolm is there and he asks Cole to sit and Cole doesn't say anything. And so Malcolm asks, "Do you not feel like talking today?" And Cole shakes his head yes. So at that point in time, Malcolm says, "Hey, do you want to play a game?" It's a mind reading game. For every statement that I say that I get right, you take a step closer to the chair. And if you reach all the way to the chair, you sit down and we'll have a session. For every answer that I get wrong, take a step back towards the door. And if you make it all the way to the door, you can leave. So then Cole says that, "Yeah, I will play this game with you." So Malcolm, Bruce Willis, being the great actor that he is, does some hands to the forehead, some humming, and shakes it all out. And is like, "Your mom, when your parents got divorced, your mom went to go see a doctor like me and he didn't help her. So you don't think that I'll be able to help you either." And so Cole takes a step forward. And then he mentions that his mom told the doctor secrets when she went. And he takes another step forward. And Malcolm guesses, "You have a secret that you don't want to tell me." And so Cole takes another step forward. He notices that Cole is wearing a watch on his wrist and says, "Your dad gave you that watch when he left." And Cole takes a step back, explains he left it in a drawer. It doesn't even work anymore. Malcolm then says, "You're a good student. You never get in any trouble." And then Cole takes another step back. He says, "One day in class, we were supposed to draw pictures. And I drew a picture of this man getting stabbed in the neck with a screwdriver by another man. And they had a meeting. Mom cried." And then Malcolm asks, "Did you see this on the TV?" And Cole takes another step back. He says, "I don't draw pictures like that anymore. I draw pictures of people smiling. They don't have meetings about rainbows." Cole says once he reaches the carpet that Malcolm is nice, but he can't help him. And then he walks away. What did you think of this scene?
I'm thinking, how is that kid never put in like a loony bin? Like, that's like this, like the makings of a serial killer to me. Like, don't let him have any pets. Like, wouldn't that be like the logical thing? Like, if you see a young child drawing pictures of like murder, you'd be like, we got to do something. Like, we need to get you some kind of like mental help, right?
Right.
Or would you just
some help? Yes. I don't know about sticking them in the loony bin, but I don't know. I feel like I draw some scary things from time to time, so we'll see.
Oh God.
You're like, I don't know about this.
I know.
The world's a fucked up place, man.
True.
Later on, Malcolm goes to a very busy restaurant and says to his wife when he shows up late, I thought you meant the other Italian restaurant I asked you to marry me in. And so then he sits down and he explains to her that he just can't seem to keep track of time. He just had a really hard session with Cole. Cole and Vincent are so similar, and he thinks that there may be abuse, but it's not likely to be the mom. He's seen her with him. And then the check comes from one of the waiters. Just as he goes to grab it, Anna gets to it first. And he's saying, I'm sorry, I know that you're mad. And she's just not responding to anything. She finally lets out a big sigh and says, happy anniversary, and gets up to leave. Later on, we cut to Cole and Malcolm walking down the street. And Cole tells him, don't look at me like that. I don't like it when people look at me, which is another thing that comes up over and over again in the movie. And then he also tells Malcolm that he doesn't tell his mom things because of the fact that he doesn't want her looking at him like that, like everybody else does, because he's a freak. And then Malcolm turns to him and says, you're not a freak. And anybody who says that is wrong. So later on, we see Lynn cleaning up the apartment, and she's got her Walkman in. So this is of the era of the Walkman. And as you so astutely mentioned earlier, Celeste, it is freezing. She's got this giant hoodie on, and she's going up to the thermostat trying to adjust it, and it just won't adjust. And in the hallway, she stops at their family photos in the wall and notices that there's a shimmer or an orb next to Cole in every single photo.
Have you ever noticed that with your photos?
With my photos?
Or have you ever like seen that?
You know what? I need to take a closer look.
So when my mom went out of town to California with a friend of hers, and every time like the friend was recording my mom, there was an orb that would follow.
No.
Yeah, like right
oh
next
my God.
to her. And she's like, look at this. And we were freaking out for a second.
That's amazing.
That's one way to put it. That's terrifying. I don't want that in my life.
It's not going to hurt you. I think
Let's
orbs
hope
are supposed to be friendly, or ghosts. I don't know.
A ghost is a ghost. I don't want any kind of ghost. No, thank you.
I want all the ghosts.
No.
You know what I can't stand is exorcisms or like possessions. Those get me. Those freak me out. But like ghosts, I'm good with. Demons, I'm good with. Possessions, those freak me the fuck out. Because as I previously mentioned,
good with them.
Tormented.
You've never encountered them in real life. I don't
like
know.
Ghosts?
Yes. Like, I don't know. Some people say that they like feel things, or like, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure I had a ghost encounter when I was a kid, but
ooh, do tell.
So we lived in a relatively old house on the East Valley. It was my grandma's house, and we were staying up late, and all of a sudden I saw somebody in my hallway. So,
oh my gosh, how scary!
So, I don't know. I thought it was really cool. So,
did you? Okay, maybe you. Yeah.
I still think it's really cool. I'm a very different person.
Oh no! Yeah. Okay, that's you then.
Yeah, it's cool. So, excuse me.
Oh, no.
So we see that at Cole's house, Malcolm is sitting on the couch and Cole is hanging out behind him. Malcolm asks Cole if he knows what free association writing is. And we cut to Lynn cleaning up Cole's room while we get voiceover of an explanation of what free association writing is, which is where you take a pencil or a pen and you put it to paper and you don't really think about writing anything. You just write until coherent thoughts really come out. This is done somewhat often when consulting with ghosts or spirits. Sometimes the idea is that you let the ghost or spirit write through you. So that's a common practice of free association writing.
Oh, I hear it's like really therapeutic too, just to get things off your mind.
Oh yeah, that's what journaling is all about. you know. Yeah. So while Lynn is cleaning up Cole's room, she sees some of Cole's previous free association writing. And we see that it's pretty violent. And Malcolm asks, what is it that you've written before? And he says that he wrote upset words. That's how he describes it. So Malcolm goes to leave. It's the end of their session. And he asks Cole to think about what Cole wants to get out of their sessions. And Cole says, can it be something that I don't want? And he states that he doesn't want to be scared anymore. So cut to Malcolm back in his basement doing some more research. And there's a knock on the door from somebody. Speaking of the door.
I know.
And knocking.
Right?
Malcolm overhears some knocking on the door. And then Anna finally goes to get it. And he overhears the conversation between a man and Anna. The man invites her out to go shopping in Amish country. And she says, no, not today. And after several minutes of telling him, no, it's okay. I don't want to go with you today. The dude leaves disappointed. So later on, we cut to Cole in class. And his teacher is asking about history, specifically of Philadelphian history. And then he asks the class, do you know what this building used to be before it was a school? And Cole raises his hand and says, they used to hang people here. And his teacher says, no, it was a very powerful courthouse. And Cole is very adamant. That's where they used to hang the people. That's who used to hang the people, is the lawyers. And the teacher is getting more upset about this. Cole tells his teacher, don't look at me like that. Stop looking at me like that. You shouldn't look at people like that. And he tells his teacher, you used to stutter in school. You used to stutter all the way through high school. And then he covers up his eyes and says, Stuttering Stanley. And he keeps calling him Stuttering Stanley for the next few minutes. And then the teacher suddenly starts to revert back to his stutter and eventually calls Cole a freak.
So was there like a ghost that used to go to high school with the teacher? And that's how
a ghost probably watched. Yeah.
I just got like really creeped out.
I should turn on my lights. So
I know. I'm like, oh my God, it's getting really creepy. Because there's just like shadows behind you.
Right,
heebie-jeebies. But yeah, so is this okay? So it's a ghost that's sitting right next to him.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically just watched all these students throughout the year, and then the teacher used to attend that school. And then, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
For a second, I'm like, did this ghost happen to go to school with that teacher, and that's how he knows all this dirt?
It could be. They don't actually explain it, but the idea is that there's a ghost next to Cole, and he used to stutter.
Yeah.
No, I've forgotten where I am. Oh, okay. So the next scene that we see, Cole is in what looks to be a library while the rest of the kids are playing outside, and Malcolm shows up. And Cole very adamantly says that he doesn't feel like talking right now. As a result, Malcolm then decides to show him a quote-unquote magic trick with a penny. And later after that scene, Malcolm comes home and he sees that his wedding video is being played on the TV. And he listens to the messages that people left for him and Anna during their wedding. The woman says that Anna knew that she loved him the moment she saw him and starts to tear up. Malcolm smiles and heads upstairs where Anna is showering. So this is one of those key moments where people are looking at others through reflections because he's watching her shower from a mirror, the bathroom mirror. Right next to the bathroom mirror, there's a small cabinet where he sees that she's been prescribed Zoloft, a depression medication. So he is baffled. So later on, he heads back downstairs and back to the basement, but he still can't open up the door. We cut to Cole at a birthday party where he's showing another kid the magic trick. Unfortunately, the kid thinks that it's stupid. And so
didn't have the same effect on that kid as it did on him.
Exactly. So Cole is continuously ostracized. Lynn is at the birthday party also, and she's explaining to the other parents that Cole doesn't get invited to a lot of things very often, especially birthday parties, and Cole is listening to her talk to the parents on the staircase. He looks up and sees that a red balloon has escaped to the top floor, and so Cole begins to climb the stairs, and for whatever reason, the end of these stairs is like a weird small closet. I can't figure out why.
Also, I didn't see it go to like any other levels.
Exactly. I'm like,
it
what
was
is
a
this?
whole like staircase that just went to a small closet. It was very odd.
So weird. But he comes near the door and he hears a very angry, violent man behind that door to be let out of the cabinet or the closet. Eventually, once again, Tommy's a shit, and he's talking to the birthday boy at the very bottom of the stairs, and they both head up to the stairs together to play a prank on Cole. Tommy asks whether or not there's something that Cole wants to see in there, and then he says, we're going to put on a pretend play. Do you want to play? And Cole says, sure. And Tommy says, it's called Locked in the Dungeon. And so him and the birthday boy grab each of Cole's arms and they throw him in the weird closet, to which suddenly locks and Cole begins to struggle and scream. And Lynn hears it from the bottom of this gigantic spiral stair. So she heads upstairs where she rushes to get him out, but the door seems to be locked and she can't get him out. She asks for a key and cannot figure out how to get this door open. It seems stuck or something of that nature. Suddenly everything goes silent though, and the door unlocks on its own. She gets Cole out of the closet and takes him straight to a hospital. This is where we come across M. Night. He is playing a doctor. And she tells him Cole seems to be fine. He can go home after some rest. It doesn't appear that he had an epileptic seizure or anything of that nature, but he's concerned about the cuts and bruises on Cole and tells her that there's a social worker who's there to ask her some ordinary questions. And she gets very offended at this and she says, you think I hurt my boy? You think that I'm abusing my boy? Look, something very serious and very real happened to him in there. What happened? And then we cut to Malcolm going into Cole's hospital room. So he comes up to Cole, and Cole is not very chatty, and so Malcolm starts to tell him a story. But Malcolm's really bad at telling bedtime stories. So Cole eventually asks, why are you sad? And Malcolm says, how do you know that I'm sad? And he says, I can see it in your eyes. And then Malcolm tells him a watered down version of the night that happened with Vincent Gray. And he says that things have been different ever since. The wife doesn't like the person that he's become, but Malcolm met another little boy who reminds him a lot of the other one. And he thinks that if he can help this boy, it'll be like helping the other one too. So Cole asks how the story ends, and Malcolm tells him that he doesn't know yet. And this is what has allowed Cole to trust Malcolm. So Cole tells Malcolm his secret. This is the ever iconic I see dead people. And Malcolm asks when and where, to which Cole responds everywhere and all the time. They walk around like regular people. They don't know that they're dead, and they only see what they want to see. They can't see each other either. This leads Malcolm to conclude that Cole might be schizophrenic.
Wild.
And to which, after he turns off the tape recorder, he says, I'm not helping him. So he feels like he's failing Cole, much like he failed Vincent Gray. So later on that night, Lynn takes Cole home and she puts him straight to bed. When she's putting him in bed, she's looking at the sweater that he was wearing at the party and notices a giant cut on his back. And then she goes to investigate the cuts on Cole's back as well. To which Lynn then goes straight to the phone and calls up the parents of the boys and says, have your boys keep their damn hands off my son.
When she took him to the hospital and the doc was like, oh, we have a social worker here, I'm sure she told him that they just came from like an all boys birthday party. It didn't cross their mind at all. Maybe they were like roughhousing. And that's how he got all these cuts and bruises. Like,
right.
But whatever.
I'm sure he's got a lot of scars too. Like I've got quite a few scars from being a kid and just having lots of cuts and bruises.
Right.
So we fade to their quiet apartment. It's the middle of the night, and Cole comes out of his room and very quickly, in his underwear, rushes to the bathroom. He does the really typical like bathroom waddle, like
the little
have to pee waddle. And he heads straight to the bathroom, and we see a cut of the thermostat start to dip in temperature. And suddenly, behind Cole, a woman in a pink robe walks past him. He feels this right away, and he starts to walk down to the hallway to the kitchen. And he says, "Mama." And from behind, it kind of looks like Toni Collette. But she turns around, and we find that it's an abused ghost of a woman who's screaming at her husband. She shows Cole her slit wrists and tells him, screams at him really, "See, Nettie, see what you made me do?" And Cole runs down the hallway back into his room, where he has what seems like a sanctuary of sorts. It's like a child fort with blankets over top, where he hosts all the religious figurines that he's borrowed from place to place.
A little safety tent.
Yep, his little safety tent. So we cut to a school play, and afterwards, Cole is walking with Malcolm and asks, "Did the play suck big time?" Tommy, he got this part in a cough syrup commercial, and he says that everybody was too nervous and that the play sucked big time. And Malcolm says, "No, it was great. It was excellent. It was better than Cats." And Cole has no idea what Cats is. So he's like, never mind. So Malcolm says that he's interested in hearing more about Cole's secret, but Cole has stopped dead in his tracks, pun intended. Down the adjacent hall, he sees that 3 people have been hung by nooses, and they're all just staring at him. So he's frozen. He will not move. Malcolm comes back to him, and he says that he can't see anything. And Cole tells him to be still. He asks Malcolm if he ever feels the prickles on the back of his neck. And Malcolm says yes. And he says, when that happens, it's them. When they get mad, it gets cold. And Malcolm repeats, he doesn't see anything. Cole asks him to make them leave, and Malcolm replies, "I'm working on it." Later on at the apartment, there is a tiny TV playing Tommy's formerly mentioned cough syrup commercial. And right at the end of it, Cole throws his shoe at the TV.
As he should.
That is the best accuracy for somebody to throw their shoe, because he threw it at like the power button and it turns off and it worked. Like he didn't shatter the TV or anything. Like if I were to try and do that, oh my gosh, the TV would be shattered in about 15 different places.
To be fair, it was a box TV. It wasn't like what we have now. It wasn't a glass
still
screen.
Broke. Anyway, so Lynn is trying to fix the thermostat, and she says, "I don't care what they say. This thing is broken." And so she finally gives up and sits down at the dinner table. She tells Cole that she found her mother's bumblebee pendant in Cole's drawer again, and she wants to know why he keeps taking it. She keeps asking him to tell her the truth, but he says that he's not the one moving the pendant. And he says that sometimes people just lose things. And she gets more and more frustrated and more upset, and then sends him to bed without finishing his dinner. At that time, while Cole is walking to his room, the puppy scurries out of there faster than you can say, run like the wind. And Cole sees a boy who looks like he's probably from the 70s walk into his room.
So you know how they say, like, dogs and babies can see like spirits or ghosts? Is that the same for kitties, do you think? I think cats can see them
They
too.
say most like pets in general, because they can see like or sense more fields than people can, like their perception's so much better. So
okay, I just recently had that experience where I was watching TV And Billy, you can fast forward because I know he's listening and he's not going to want to hear it. But so I was watching TV with the dogs, and all of a sudden, so you know how my house, there's a TV, and then to the right is the fireplace in that little pit area. So the Scooby was looking like at the fireplace and up, and he starts growling. And so I'm just like weirded out, and I'm like, okay. I'm just going to keep watching TV and ignore it. But he stands up and all the hairs on his back are up, and he starts growling and just like barking, and he's running side to side staring at that top corner. And I literally got so scared. I'm like, so I stand up, but then he stops all of a sudden, and then he goes back to lay down. And I was like, what the fuck? I was so terrified because I've never seen him act like that before. Anyways, but yeah, so who knows what was lingering in my house over here.
I'm not gonna lie, that's amazing. Why didn't you call me immediately?
Because I was terrified.
So you can call me.
I should start sharing this stuff with you because it's happened like multiple times, and Billy refuses to hear it. He's like, I don't want to know about it. He's like, if I hear about that, he's like, we're moving. I don't want anything.
Yes, as somebody who has a different place to go home to, I will happily hear your stories.
I thought you would love to experience something like that, though.
I do. I would love to. Actually, like, I feel like I might have had something similar to that when I dog sat for you for like 4 days, but nothing like super serious.
Oh, okay.
It was just like that weird feeling that you get sometimes.
Yeah, it happens all the time where like they just stare at a corner or they just growl for a little bit. And usually I'm just like, I'm ignoring it. I don't want to know. I'm not going to. Yeah. I'm not going to engage.
Yeah, but that was a little bit more involved.
Oh,
with
God,
cats,
yeah. It was intense. I was like, oh
my God. It's more so like their fur stand on end and they start to like hiss and stuff like that is more so the reaction that cats would have, because otherwise you never know what they're going after. Like sometimes the cats are doing crazy things and it looks like they may be just like losing their mind, but they're really chasing after a bug. And sometimes the bugs are just so small or they dander that they chase after like
a little ball of fuzz going down.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Little fur ball.
They found Whoville and the spec that it was on. Who knows? Oh boy. Now I forgot where I was. Aha. Okay. So the boy comes back out and he says, come on, I'll show you where my dad keeps his gun. And as he goes into Cole's room, the back of his head is completely blown out.
Ugh,
so
sad.
I know. It happens. People keep your guns locked up and safe.
Because it's real. That shit happens all the time.
Too often.
Exactly. So sad.
So anyway, Cole goes to his mom, and this is right after they had their fight, and asks if she's not very mad, can he sleep in her bed tonight? And Lynn responds, look at my face. I'm not very mad. And she pleads with him to tell her what's wrong after he goes in for a hug, and she realizes that he's shaking uncontrollably. And then they just cry together. So later on, we cut to Anna in her store. She's selling a ring to an engaged couple. And the guy of the engaged couple, he's very apprehensive about how much that ring costs. But Anna is a very savvy businesswoman, and she gets the woman to try on the ring and says, this ring conveys a longing. I believe that the woman who owned it previously loved a man that she could not be with. To which the fiance responds, or not the, well, yes, the woman of the engaged couple responds, did he have wavy hair and chestnut eyes? Who is definitely not her fiance.
Not her fiance. I know. I was like,
and he's like, what? And somehow they buy the ring. But before that, Anna replies, I don't know. But I think when people pass away, a part of them gets imprinted on their things. So
that's creepy. Again, that would not be a selling point for me personally.
For me, it might be.
Yeah, for you, yeah. That would seem like your kind of thing.
Apparently, you and I are much more different than we thought we were.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
But that's okay. Difference breeds friendship.
Does it? I'm just kidding.
I don't know.
Opposites attract for friendships.
Exactly.
Also, not just romantic relationships. There you go.
Exactly. Anyway, after she's selling this ring to the couple, a man comes up the stairs and he's carrying a bench. We find out that this is the same man that came to Anna's door and asked her to go Amish country shopping with him. And he tells her that she doesn't need somebody with a master's degree. She needs somebody who looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger, essentially. And she hands him a gift and says that it's for his birthday. And she gives him a first edition of a book. They hug and they hug again. And then they lean in really close for a kiss. And all of a sudden, something shatters the store window. They all rush to the store window, and in voiceover, we hear Malcolm telling Cole that Malcolm knows what he wants, that he wants to be able to talk to his wife. And then we hear the most disappointing news. Malcolm says to Cole that he can't see him anymore, that he needs to pay attention to his own family. To which Cole says, "But you're the only one who can help me." And then he asks, "You believe me, right? You believe my secret?" And Malcolm says that he doesn't know how to answer that. And Cole responds, "How can you help me if you don't believe me? Some magic is real." So later on, we cut back to Malcolm in his basement of solitude, and he starts to remember that night with Vincent. And over in the corner, he sees a box labeled Vincent Gray, and he starts to listen back to some of the session tapes that he had with Vincent. He listens to a particular part on the tape where he has left the room briefly, and he starts to re-listen to it, and he turns up the volume and he's listening closely, when all of a sudden he hears another voice in the static talking to Vincent after he briefly leaves the room in this recording.
Creepy.
He is astonished.
Right.
He hears the man on the tape speaking in Spanish to Vincent. "Yo no quiero morir." Did I say that right? I have no idea.
Yeah, yo no
quiero morir. I can barely speak English. I don't know.
I know. I'm like, I can barely speak, let alone a second language. Yeah.
You at least know Spanish. Like, I've heard you speak Spanish. I can listen and understand Spanish, but I can't hardly speak it. I can barely speak English. I get too tongue-tied just speaking regular English.
I know. Just the one language is difficult. So
it always reminds me of another Bruce Willis movie where in The Fifth Element, much like The Sixth Sense, in The Fifth Element, Bruce Willis says, "I only know two languages, English and bad English." Yep. So Malcolm meets with Cole back in the church where they met, and Cole asks Malcolm, did something happen? And then he asks if Malcolm is wigging out, which I love that phrasing, wigging out. So Malcolm asks Cole, "What do you think these ghosts want from you?" I recently heard another ghost on tape say, "Yo no quiero morir." And he's like, "Do you know what that means?" "It means I don't want to die." "So what do you think these ghosts want from you?" And Cole says, "I think they want help." Malcolm replies, "I think so too. I think the best way to make them go away is to listen to them." And of course, Cole, having the experiences that he has had, is really apprehensive to this. And he says, "What if they don't want help? What if they're just angry?" And Malcolm continues to explain,
Sorry.
Is that the ghost coming back for vengeance?
The ghost of Billy. No.
Oh no, was this a murder-suicide? I'm so confused. Oh boy. So anyway, Malcolm says, "I don't think that's how it works." So Malcolm then goes home and he finds the man from the store leaving his home. He says, "Hey, come back here." And of course the man doesn't hear him, or at least he speeds off. We cut to Cole. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I wasn't going to say anything. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Billy's ghost left.
Oh, okay. What have you done to Billy?
Yeah.
Was this a poisoning?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So we cut to Cole sleeping in his sanctuary, and all of a sudden he hears his mom cry out in her sleep. She's very upset, and in her dreams, she thinks that somebody is hurting Cole. So he goes into her room and he settles her down and he tells her to sleep. So he returns back to his tent, and it's suddenly very cold. is rushing to get inside of his tent, but I can't figure out what else he's doing. I think he's re-clipping his tent.
Yeah,
And
because I think it started like unclipping or something like that.
Something like that. So he gets inside, he turns on the flashlight, and he looks up at the top of the tent and he sees that the clothespins have started to come undone in his sanctuary. And he looks back to straight ahead and sees an upset girl throwing up all over herself. And he hightails it and skedaddles out of that sanctuary. It is no longer safe in there. He hides behind a couch and cries a bit. And then after a moment, he remembers what Malcolm told him and he toughs it out and goes back into the sanctuary. He sees this little girl and she says, "I'm feeling much better now." And Cole asks if there's something that she wants to tell him. Following that, we see Cole and Malcolm on a bus together. They're heading to a funeral, specifically this little girl's funeral. They pass another little girl on a swing set outside of the house of Kira, who's the girl that he's trying to help. And Cole explains that it's her sister. And while Cole and Malcolm enter the house, they overhear people talking about what happened to Kira. They say she was bedridden for 2 years. They were never able to find out what was wrong. She had to go to 6 different doctors. And now the younger sister is starting to fall ill too. So Cole and Malcolm kind of sneak upstairs to the little girl's room. And inside Kira's room is 1,000 creepy puppets.
The creepiest. Oh my gosh, yes. Little house of horrors in there. It was scary. But did you ever have like those little collector dolls?
I don't think so.
I used to have those. The little glass ones, the collector ones. Yes, and I would keep them in my closet. And I put
them yeah, it's not safe otherwise.
But they were all like on the top shelf, like just sitting there. And I always had to sleep with my closet door closed because I didn't want them to like, peek out at me.
Did you ever have a Furby?
A Furby?
Yeah.
Maybe. I can't remember.
People always thought that those were haunted too.
Oh, yeah.
Because they came out at random times.
Oh, yeah, because they would like randomly like make noises. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yep.
So she's got 1,000 creepy puppets. And to be fair, she's been bedridden for 2 years. What else is she going to do other than entertain herself with puppets? So Cole goes into her room. And as he's walking around her room, all of a sudden, Kira grabs his leg from underneath her bed. He sees her and she pushes a wooden box towards him. Cole then heads downstairs and is looking for Kira's dad. And he gives him the box. And inside this box, there's a videotape. He tells Kira's dad that Kira wanted him to have this. He puts in the tape with everybody there still. And we see that Kira is putting on a puppet show. Just when the door starts to rustle, she rushes back into bed and her mom comes in with some soup. She just so happens to stop in front of the camera and pours cleaning products into the soup. She tells Kira not to complain about the taste. And Kira says, "If I'm feeling better in the afternoon, can I go outside?" And her mom says, "If you're feeling up to it, sure. But you know how you get sick in the afternoons." Of course, right after she's been eating this poison soup.
Yeah.
So the funeral gets extremely quiet and the mom turns around to see the dad looking at her. And he accuses her that she was keeping her sick. The mom also happens to be wearing this bright red blazer while everybody else is in black.
Yeah. She gives zero fucks. Yeah, everybody watched that tape, so everybody knows. Yeah. Murderer. Yep. I would have liked to have seen how that played out.
Right?
That whole situation.
Same. I'm like, I need a police procedural about this case. But this storyline is Kira being killed by a syndrome called Munchausen syndrome by proxy, where it's a, I don't know if I'm going to say this correctly, factitious disorder imposed on another, which is FDIA for short. It's a mental disorder and a form of child abuse where a parent or a caretaker looks for attention by faking or causing real symptoms in a victim, often a child, to make it appear that the child has a true physical or mental health issue so that way they can get this attention.
Wow.
Now, mind you, I said factitious and not fictitious. So it's fact. It is a real condition.
Wow. It reminds me of that one Netflix show. I forget what it's called, but it has Sarah Paulson. She plays the mom. Her daughter's in a wheelchair. She's paralyzed.
Oh, yeah.
And
where she makes her believe that she's paralyzed, but she's not.
She's been giving her like some sort of like dog medication.
Something like that, yeah.
Actually, like, it didn't paralyze her, but it made her numb in the legs, so she couldn't actually move.
Ooh, God, that's so scary.
I know. People are crazy, man.
Yeah. So after that all happens, Cole is sitting on the swing next to Kira's little sister, and he gives her a puppet of Kira's, saying that Kira knew that this was her favorite, and so she wanted her to have it. The sister says, "I'm not going to see Kira again, am I?" And he says, "No." So apparently Kira was coming to her sister also. After that, we cut back to school, and Cole is getting ready for another school play. His teacher comes in and says that they're ready for the stable boy. And we see Cole is sitting with a woman who is later revealed to be a ghost who burned in a fire that happened at that school years ago. So in the school play, we find out that it's about King Arthur. And as it turns out, Cole got to play Arthur. So he goes up to the sword and the stone and pulls it out, and everybody begins to cheer. All of the kids pick him up and parade him around the stage, and then all fall down laughing. Afterwards, Cole and Malcolm are talking, and Cole tells Malcolm that he has an idea for how he can talk to his wife, that he should talk to her while she's sleeping, that she can hear him through her subconscious, essentially. And they agree that unfortunately, this is the last time that they'll see each other. But Cole says, let's just pretend that we're going to see each other tomorrow. And so after that, they go their separate ways. We then cut to the streets of Philadelphia, and one street in particular is clustered and stopped, completely halted by a horrible accident, and several cars behind. Lynn and Cole are sitting in their car, and Lynn says to Cole, "I'm sorry that I couldn't make it to your play today. I know that you're mad about that. I had to work my 2 jobs. I would have given anything to be there." But Cole tells her, "I'm not mad." And after a few moments of silence, he says, "I'm ready to communicate with you now." So Lynn takes this very seriously. And Cole tells her somebody did die in the accident up there. And she's like, "How do you know that?" And he's like, I see her. It was a bicyclist. She died." And Lynn says, "Where is she? You can see her?" And he says, "Yes, she's right outside of my window." So we see a bicyclist in a red top, and she's bleeding from the head, and then she walks away.
It's just like, Bo, there's a monster outside my bedroom. Can I have a glass of water?
Oh, that's still my favorite line.
Chills, just chills.
So Lynn is obviously taken aback, and Cole explains that the ghosts scare him too sometimes. And she asks, "Ghosts?" And she's starting to get more and more concerned. And Cole asks, "What are you thinking? You think I'm a freak, don't you?" And of course, she does the thing again where she says, "Look at my fake face. I would never think that about you. Never." And then while she's trying to process everything that Cole just told her, Cole then continues on to say, "Grandma says hello, and sorry for taking the bumblebee pendant." Lynn is very upset by this, but Cole continues on saying, "Grandma saw you dance." He explains that they had a fight one day before her dance recital, and her mom was standing in the back of the auditorium while she watched her dance, and she thought that she looked like an angel. And then he also says that the answer to Lynn's question is, after she visited the grave, was yes, every day. And he asks Lynn, "What did you ask?" And Lynn cries and chokes up as she's responding. I asked her if I make her proud. And then Cole and Lynn cry and hug each other in the car.
I cried
It's
too.
a very sweet and tender moment.
It is. I'm just so much more sensitive these days, so everything makes me cry, but I was crying at that scene.
I feel like I've just become hardened.
Have you? Oh my gosh. I've just become like I just sob at everything now.
I used to sob at everything.
What happened?
I used to cry at a lot
Just
of
kidding.
things. I don't know. The world has gotten to me.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's totally understandable. You've just become numb to everything. You're like, I don't feel anything.
I put on some makeup so that way people think that I have emotions, but I really don't. Anyway, so later on, Malcolm goes home and he finds Anna asleep in front of the TV with their wedding video playing. Malcolm takes Cole's advice and he starts talking to her. And Anna says, I miss you. Why did you leave me? And he says, I didn't leave you. But just then, Anna drops his wedding ring. And he looks at her hand and realizes that she's wearing her wedding rings, but then looks down at his hand and sees that he's not. All of a sudden, the dots are starting to line up for him. And Cole's voice about the characteristics of ghosts start to read through his head, and he starts to realize that he's dead. He looks at the single placemat in the dining room table. He suddenly realizes that there's actually a table in front of the basement door that has been keeping him from opening it this whole time. And then he remembers the night that Vincent shot him and how the bullet went cleanly through, but he started bleeding a lot from behind onto the bed. And he starts to realize that he's bled out through his back. After this, Malcolm said, or while Malcolm is bleeding out on the bed, he says it doesn't even hurt anymore and then suddenly passes away. So he's remembering all of this. So after a couple of minutes of coming to terms with the fact that he's realized that he's dead, he goes over to Anna and sits down beside her and says, I think I can go now. I just needed to do a couple of things. But I also needed to tell you, you were never second, ever. I love you. And then she responds, good night, Malcolm. He closes his eyes, the screen fades to white, and then focuses back on their wedding video. And then we have the end of the movie.
Amazing.
I like this movie quite a bit. So,
I do too.
Unfortunately, though, it does not pass the Bechdel test.
Man, oh man.
I know. There are only like a handful of times that two women even talk to each other, but they're generally talking about Cole, or they're talking about a ring, specifically about getting married and whether or not there's a man with wavy hair and chestnut eyes.
Thinking about it now, the Signs doesn't pass either.
No, it does not.
And then The Village, I don't know if that passes.
I feel like
I know there's women in it, but I feel like oftentimes they talk about a man, though.
Probably.
So I don't know.
But I know that, so Bryce Dallas Howard is playing Ivy, and then her character's sister, who I can never remember this actress's name, but they talk extensively throughout the movie. And then also the other women in the village. Whereas like in this movie and in Signs, like there are two women total.
Yeah. The Happening, it barely passed.
Yes,
like
that's
barely.
True. Mostly because Jess says, I love you, Aunt Alma.
Yeah. Very brief and quick.
So very small. Anyway, so some fun trivia about this movie. Speaking of the final scene, Toni Collette has said that she was so moved by the emotional response of the story while filming that she didn't even realize it was a horror movie until after it was released.
I can see that from her point of view because she never really experiences, at least her character doesn't experience all of that. So,
and then the cabinets.
Oh yeah, the cabinet. Other than that, yeah. And the photos.
According to M. Night, Donnie Wahlberg lost 43 pounds for the role of Vincent Gray. Totally believable. This man was emaciated beyond belief. Why you would do that?
Wow.
Sure, but
crazy.
The movie's line, I see dead people, was voted as the number 100 of the top 100 greatest movie lines in Premiere magazine in 2007. So even like 8 years later.
Iconic. It's an iconic line.
Mm-hmm. It is. You can hear it basically in a lot of things. Throughout the film, Malcolm's wardrobe consists of only a slight variation of the clothes he wore the night that he died. And then while circling a passage of the notes, Bruce Willis does so with his right hand, whereas he is actually left-handed. So he had to teach himself how to write with his right hand so that way viewers wouldn't notice that his wedding band was no longer on his ring finger. He also draws circles clockwise, like a left-handed person would do, where most right-handed people would draw it counterclockwise, which I did not know we did that.
Oh, interesting.
I think I draw my circles clockwise, though. I don't know.
I haven't noticed. Yeah.
Ironically enough, the soundtrack of the movie gives away the ending because the final song on the CD is titled Malcolm is Dead.
What?
Isn't that amazing?
But like, I know that's craziness, but like back in the day, this would have been on a CD. Mm-hmm. This doesn't seem like the type of movie that I would go out of my way to buy a CD for. You know what I mean?
Same, but there are those people out there. I'm sure somebody's got the soundtrack to Jaws, and that's really just
yeah, just
the whole movie.
True.
M. Night deliberately used the color red to depict when the world of the living and the world of the dead would cross over. So that's part of the reason why I kept saying, oh, the red balloon, her red blazer, like the red door handle. Because anytime that there was red in the scene, then there was a ghost in the scene also, or the dead people were crossing over into the living. And then if there wasn't red in a scene where there should be, then he would change it. So James Newton Howard, who scored the movie, the score itself occasionally sounds like snippets from the Requiem Mass by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, which was an orchestral and choir piece written specifically for a funeral mass, which I thought was quite appropriate for this movie since it's about death.
I agree. Yep. Fits.
On our wonderful caffeine scale of 1 to 5 espresso shots, how stimulated did this movie keep us?
With the exception of the time we watched it, I think it's a solid 5. I really do. I think it's a beautiful movie. It's moving, and also like every other scene, I have chills or I'm jumping.
Yes, I concur. I believe it is also a 5. The storytelling's fantastic. The imagery is fantastic. The scary parts are really scary, mostly jump scare wise.
Yeah,
but it's a very touching storyline, like you mentioned. The growth and the character arc that Cole and Malcolm have is really wonderful to watch and to see as they both grow. And then meanwhile, like it's been 24-ish years since this movie came out and everybody knows that Bruce Willis is dead. Mm-hmm. Like it still takes time to like put all the pieces together.
It does. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you can, it's still one of those movies you can rewatch, and knowing the ending doesn't ruin the movie experience watching. So. Right.
It's one of those like movies or shows that sometimes the more you rewatch it, the more you pick up on things while you're watching it.
Mm-hmm. So yep, definitely a recommend.
Yep, 100% recommend.
Yay,
did you just clap?
I did. Thank you for listening to another episode of Caffeinated Flicks. We're a self-published podcast produced and edited by Kenzie.
We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what films you'd like us to cover, what we can do better, or just say hi.
If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can follow us on Instagram at caffeinatedflickspod or email us at caffeinatedflicks@gmail.com. We'll catch you on the flick side.